What's up, YouTube? It's Reggie, and today we're on Ezekiel 42. It says, "Then he brought me forth into the outer courts, the way towards the north, and he brought me into the chamber that was over against the separate place, which was over against the building towards the north. Before the length of 100 cubits was the north door, and the breadth was 50 cubits. Over against the 20 cubits which belonged to the inner courts, and over against the pavement which belonged to the outer court, was gallery against gallery in the third story. And before the chamber was a walk of 10 cubits, breadth inward, a way of 1 cubit, and their doors were towards the north. Now the upper chambers were shorter, for the galleries took away from these more than from the lower and middlemost in the building." So once again, showing that God is very deliberate with how he wants everything aligned, because he's a deliberate God. And it says, "For they were in 3 stories, and they had no pillars as the pillars of the courts. Therefore the uppermost were strained more than the lower and the middlemost from the ground. And the wall that was without by the side of the chambers towards the outer court before the chambers, the length thereof was 50 cubits. For the length of the chambers that were in the outer courts was 50 cubits, and lo, before the temple were 100 cubits. And from under these chambers was the entry on the east gate, as one goeth into them from the outer courts. And the thickness of the wall of the court towards the east, before the separate place, before the building, there were chambers. And the way before them was like the appearance of the way of the chambers which were toward the north. According to their length, so was their breadth. And all their egressors were both according to their fashions and according to their doors. And according to the doors in the chambers that were towards the south was a door at the head of the way, even the way directly before the wall towards the east, as one entered into them. Then he said unto me, The north chambers and the south chambers, which are before the separate place, they are the holy chambers, where the priests that are near unto Jehovah shall eat the most holy things. There shall they lay the most holy things, and meal offerings, and sin offerings, and trespasses, for the place is holy." So once again, getting back to God has made all this deliberately set a certain way, so that is how he wants it. And you see here, this certain area is so holy that only certain people can go into it. That's why if you read Leviticus, if you read Numbers, there were so many different ways people could become unclean, and there was ways to get clean, but you had to follow these certain rituals and practices, because if you didn't, you were unclean in the sanctuary, in a very holy place. The same way when God was talking to Moses through a bush, he told Moses to take off his shoes, because it's a holy place, because God is there. So it's like when God puts his presence somewhere, it becomes a holy place, because God is holy, holy, holy. So when you realize this, you realize that it's a blessing to even be able to talk to God, much alone be in his presence. And when you realize this, you realize how much of a blessing it is to be able to read your word, get closer and grow in your faith, and grow and talk to God, and just be able to reach out. Like all these ways that are works that bear fruits are blessings that we get to participate in because of Jesus' sacrifice. And when you realize that, you realize how blessed you are beyond measure. So go and use those blessings to keep getting closer to God, because it's a blessing to do that. It says, "When the priests enter in, they shall not go out of the holy place into the outer court, but there they shall lay their garments wherein they minister, for they are holy. And they shall put on other garments, and shall approach to that which pertaineth to the people." So God says there's a certain practice. Y'all will not leave, but y'all will change garments in here, because you're holy now. It says, "Now when he had made an end of the measuring the inner house, he brought me forth by the way of the gate, whose prospect is towards the east, and measured it round about. He measured on the east side with the measuring reed 500 reeds, with the measuring reed about. He measured on the north side 500 reeds, with the measuring reed rod about. He measured on the south side 500 reeds with the measuring reed. He turned about to the west side, and measured the 500 reeds with the measuring reed. He measured it on the 4 sides, and it had a wall round about, and the length 500, and the breadth 500, to make a separation between that which was holy and that which was common. Because it's a very important distinction. Because the common, other people could come. The holy places, only priests could come, because they had to do all these rituals to be purified. God is very deliberate. And this chapter just shows God is very deliberate with everything he does. So don't worry about nothing, but pray about everything. God will reveal more to you about the plans he has for you. I love you, but Jesus loves you more. Seek him today, and that's when he can enlighten you with the plans he has for you. God bless you.